Ohio State survives, Joe, beating Nebraska 21-17. Your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I think that one thing is starting to become a bit apparent, and it's one of the worst things that happens to championship caliber teams that we expect to go on these runs at the beginning of the year. Injuries are starting to kill them, and it sucks. The injuries that they're dealing with on their offensive line is really starting to pull them back, because we have spent so much time praising this team and how they are gifted in so many spots and they have depth at so many positions. The only spot, like even at quarterback, they have depth, which is crazy to think that they're 3-4 deep, that they could roll different guys in there that would work in that system. But the one position, Blake, that they're not deep at the current moment because they lost 2 left tackles in their past few games is their offensive line. So they're playing musical chairs here. They're trying to figure out what to go with and what direction to go in order to have just an offensive line that's survivable. This game, they gave up 7 tackles for loss, 7 yards per rush, 0.7 yards per rush before contact, which is abysmal, and 6 pressures on Will Howard. I'm not going to completely freak out at the current moment, but I think as they approach the playoff, and if they do reach that spot where they have to play a Texas A&M, a Georgia, if they have to play Oregon again, I don't know if their offensive line is going to be able to survive a battle like that, because Nebraska got smoked by Indiana last week and they played you close because your offensive line's banged up. I hope there's a solution. I hope they can figure it out, but it's looking a little bit dire for what could happen in these coming games.
Well, Joe, looking at the game, though, the turnovers, regardless of if you're talking about offensive line or not, Will Howard still went 13 of 16 and went off. So if you're Chip, if you're Ryan Day, you got to say, listen, man, we are beating them to death through the air. Okay? And the problem that I had in the game and watching this was, I'm like, look, I get it. He's got to run a little bit. But Jeremiah Smith is down there. And, Joe, they did that in the second half to come back, but that's how they were moving their offense. The run game is where things are getting really affected. Okay? When you have Juckins, 10 carries, 29 yards, Henderson, 10 carries, 25 yards, Joe. I mean, that's where they're being affected. Yeah. So you found a way, right? I mean, you found a way. Your defense came up big late against Joey. I mean, Raiola's not a freshman quarterback anymore, really. I mean, we're more than halfway through the season. This kid's been through a lot. But your defense gets the turnover on downs from Nebraska, 4 plays, 6 yards. Okay, you get the interception late. So you're coming back into the football game. Nebraska does take the lead late, but you battle back. Joe, the drive when they're down 17-14 by Will Howard was insane. Joe, he had a 37-yard completion to Cardell Tate. He had a 4-yard run. He had a 3-yard run, a 7-yard run. He had a 3-yard completion to Ibuka, and then he had a 10-yard run to get them a first down on 2nd and 3. Joe, I got to admit, I understand that they're getting beat up, but, man, Will Howard really performed well for them on Saturday in a very tough and very close battle.
Yeah, I got to definitely give credit to Howard with all the offensive line issues that they're having at the current moment. For him to still, despite getting pressured as much as he did and getting sacked, to play as well and to have those big plays, it's important for what to expect for the rest of this season. Mm-hmm. More importantly, second half, like you're talking about here, trust your playmakers. Know who's going to get you out of it. But their inability to run the football. When again, this Nebraska defense got ran all over by Indiana, and now suddenly you can't get the ball going on the ground when you have two of the best the best running back duo in the country. Let me rephrase that. That is going to cause problems. This isn't one of those situations where we can talk about, and I feel like we're able to navigate problems for teams really well on the show of saying, this isn't working, here's a potential solution. When you're dealing with this, where you're down 2 tackles and you're moving guys around in different spots, I just don't know what you do to fix that. Do they just need to start throwing the ball more to avoid their run game stalling their offense? Is that what they need to do?
Joe, I mean, Yeah, I mean, at least in this game, right? Like at least in this one, because again, they don't have, bro. You got Megatron Senior and Megatron Junior at wide receiver. I mean, Joe, they are so talented on the outside. It's insane. It purely and utterly insane. But I do agree with you, man. They couldn't run the football to save their life. To save their life. So
that shouldn't happen. This is an LSU where they're dealing with running back injuries. They've got the best running back duo in the country.
Joe, I said that they had injuries or no injuries. I told you all season and in the offseason that they got a guard issue.
Well, but it's getting accentuated with the problems that they're dealing with at left tackle.
Joe,
Donovan Jackson might have to play tackle for them, who's their better guard of the two.
Joe, there were 3 runs, though, that, I mean, you're talking about him. There are 3 runs in that game that he gets penetration right into his inside. And I'm like, hey, buddy, I mean, like, okay. I mean, Judkins got hit and got up and, like, slammed the football because that was the 3rd time that he got hit at the line of scrimmage, and he's pissed. Joe, he's pissed. And I'm with him. So, I don't know. By the way, Jaden Daniels just completed a 65-yard touchdown in the air, Hail Mary touchdown.
Of course he did. No, just I mean, I don't know. There's no words to even put on that.
Dude, special, man. Dude's insane.
Absolutely. BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.